am so excited to announce that I am doing my first in-person retreat in over 2 years. If you have been feeling like your message wants to expand, like your voice that you've been using no longer matches the woman that you've become and the leader that you've become, I want to personally invite you to my in-person retreat, Unscripted. It's a 2-day intimate retreat in Nashville, Tennessee on February 5th and 6th, 2026 for the women who are ready to speak, to write, and lead from their highest identity, not from performance or from pressure. No more over-explaining, no more shrinking, no more sounding like an older version of yourself. This is where your voice and your message and your identity come back into alignment and pure refinement of who you really are and who you are meant to serve. Spots are limited and it is application only, as we want to make sure that that room is just so primed and ready for the work that we're going to be doing. So you can learn all about it and apply by going to juliesolomon.net/unscripted. And if you felt this, you already know, my friend, I can't wait to meet you and see you in that room with me and these incredible other women. Again, that's juliesolomon.net/unscripted. Welcome to Woman of Influence. I'm Julie Solomon, and this is where high-level women come to recalibrate their message, realign their leadership, and rise into the next era of impact. If you're ready to align your visibility with your true authority, if you're called to speak to women at the level you now lead, if you're ready for your business to feel as elevated as the woman running it, this is your space. Because real influence isn't built in the algorithm. It's embodied in your identity. Let's get started. Hi, Jonathan Schaech.
Hi, Julie Solomon.
Julie Solomon Schaech. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
I'm so excited to have you on. This is going to be fun. This is primarily a women's-based podcast, but there are times that I will have really important men in my life come on the show, and there is no more important man in my life than you. So it's only natural that you come on and we get to have a really fun conversation.
Awesome.
I know.
I'm grateful to be here.
I'm grateful to have you, baby. Okay, so I have some questions for you today. Some of them were from our community. So that's going to be a fun perspective to
from
get.
Our community?
From my community of listeners.
Okay.
And,
all right, great.
Yes. And then some are from me. What were you thinking when I said our community?
Well, I thought maybe, Nashville.
Oh, right. Our city.
Our schools and, people in our lives.
Yes, the listeners, which are people in my work life.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay, but I want to kick this off because this is something that's been coming up a lot just in our marriage this year. I mean, we were talking about it. Well, we had to pay taxes this week. So we were talking about money.
Right.
We've been talking about tithing and what that means for our family. We've been talking about your series and when you're going to start filming that again, which is such a gift. But we also have to be really mindful of, the structure and space of that. And so the question or the statement, I guess, was when we fight, we don't fight much, but if we do, when we fight and it's about money, we were not fighting about the money, we're fighting about the meaning. Do you agree with that?
It's usually some fears involved.
Yeah, so share. What's your perspective about that?
Well, if we fight, we're fighting because usually I'm scared.
What are you scared of?
Of running out of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that with the meaning behind that and what that means for you, because I think that's an interesting dynamic for people in relationships, especially people that either they work together or they don't, or they're both, we're both entrepreneurs. You're an actor, you run your own business, I'm the same. So what does that mean for you when the fears come up from the perspective of the man in the household?
Well, I mean, ever since I left home when I was, 18 years old, I've made my own way, made my own money. Survived all these years as an actor, never knowing when the money's coming next or what the next gig is. And I've always been a working actor, so I always had to work. I never could sit back and relax. I had to work. And so I know money comes when it's supposed to. But when we were put in a dynamic between the two of us and with children, you know, paying rent, not rent, but mortgage, schools, just even groceries nowadays, it's like it gets to be daunting when we put other expenses on the budget.
Yeah, it is.
It scares me usually for a period of time, and then I usually calm down.
Yeah.
And trust. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the way that we spend money or use money is vastly different too. Not saying one is right or wrong.
Yes, true. Very true.
But that's why I'm grateful to have you, because you really allow us to slow down where I would speed up. And I think that I also allow us to speed up when you would normally slow down. And I think that that's important. But for me, it's like this idea of the meaning behind it. I think the fear piece that you shared makes a lot of sense. You're coming with your own fears and stories about money and the way that you were raised in your home, and myself too. One thing, though, that I recently unlocked about my own relationship with money, which was really interesting, and I was talking to Aaron on my team about this because we were having to make a money decision, and there's a version of me, a very unhealed version of me, where when it comes to, I always say this, and you've heard me say this, like, take me to Vegas because I'm going to roll the dice. And
that's true.
Yes. Take me to Vegas.
Yes.
But it's like I will aim high.
Yeah. Even
if it's out of my reach. But there's a patterning of doing that, because then if I aim high, knowing that it's and not in a way that like, oh, it's not realistic and I'm playing small. No, it's like I'm aiming disturbingly too high. But then that puts me in this pattern where, well, now I've got to go and make sure that happens. So I've got to force it, fix it, control it, chase it. And so it puts me in this really unhealthy patterning of Julie's going to aim high. She's going to shoot her shot. It's not going to land. So now she's going to have to go and fix it. And then she's going to aim high again. She's going to shoot her shot. It's not going to land. And so she's going to go back and fix it. And it all really, I think, comes from this place of just a lack of trust. And just letting pause come in and reveal what it needs to reveal. So when we were talking about this money situation in the business, instead of just doing it and being like, well, I'll just figure it out later, I just told Aaron, I said, this feels itchy to me, and this is why. And it's because I'm trying to heal this thing where, like, I don't want to overshoot anymore. I want to do this in a way that feels clean and feels an integrity to the business, and puts the business in a place that it can be nurtured over time. And so I'm not even asking you to fix it or have an answer. I'm just explaining to you how I feel. And didn't say anything else, slept on it. And then the next day she comes and she's like, hey, I slept on it, and now here's the solution that I want to give you. And it felt so much better and made so much more sense financially. And so it's just an interesting kind of dynamic of how I will do it. And I was even talking about it on a previous podcast episode where, when we renovated our house in 2019, we're renovating it again. No matter how you slice it, renovations are very expensive.
Yeah.
But the version of me, the 2019 Julie that was doing it, that just kept throwing money at it shamelessly, and like, because she didn't know what she was doing and she was really scared and she didn't know how to ask for help and how to ask for guidance, versus the 2025 Julie that's doing it, hasn't been perfect, but it has been a much more peaceful and like steady process, because at least I know exactly what it's going to and why it's going there and where it's not going. And I think that's been huge for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing when we were looking to buy a new home. Mm-hmm. Then we went all the way down to getting an offer of what we were asking.
Yep.
And I felt all along this was not going to be a possibility.
I know, and I was like, I don't want to hear it. Let me shoot my shot.
And so I didn't try to control it. I was open to whatever was the best for us and for our family.
Yeah.
And someone came in and kind of gave us some common sense.
Well, yeah. I mean, our fight. That's what we hire him for. I mean,
awesome.
He was like, "You guys could do this, but why would you do this right now?
Yeah. Why would you?
Even if you just renovated your house. Like, here are the other options that would be so much more financially
and you
sound
jumped all
for you.
over that.
And I did. I was like, okay.
Now we got renovations. Now we're out of our home.
But you were right.
I wasn't right, because I didn't think it all the way through. I did my homework, and then I was like, I could see where this could be really tight.
Right.
and we could struggle, and I don't like the struggle. I like to be free.
Yeah.
It makes me crazy. So, yeah.
But I think that was the gift, because you were right. You ended up being right, and I'll tell you you're right all day long when you are. But I think the gift is like, you let us go down that road anyway, so I could get to that same understanding, but the way that I got to that understanding was just going to be different. It was going to take longer than the way that you got to it. And because you love me so much, and because you want me to be happy, and you want me to have these dreams, and you want me to have these goals, but you also know, like, she's not going to see it this way. So let's do it her way. And even though I may be right, like, that's how she'll get to understand it. And so I think that's the difference, and kind of also what I want to jump into, because I think that we haven't always been that way. And then there's some times where that roles will be reversed, where it's like, I know the way that we need to go, and he's not seeing it yet. So it's like, we'll do it his way, even though I know that, like, we're going to get back to what I already know to be true. But I think for a lot of people, it's not always the case. And I think that's where a lot of relationships can get really dicey. So a question that we had, and I think this kind of lends to it, is what has it been like to be married to someone whose identity and business have evolved so many times?
It's true, right?
Yeah.
You really have.
Yeah.
You're still Julie Publicist on my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've just taken on the next frontier each and every time, very much like I do.
Yeah. Do you think it's because in your line of work and being a creative, and, you know, the way that Hollywood works, it's not what people assume that it is, where, you know, it's like, you've got to really work hard, and you've got to build so many relationships, and you've got to put the skin in the game and really just be diligent and never give up to get the roles that you get. Do you think that your perspective in that has allowed you to hold so many of my evolutions and identity shifts with more compassion?
Yeah, I think the way I've lived my life, for sure. But what I've really come to understand is that this is your life. You only have one. And so I really have always wanted you to, you know, try what your dreams are, what you really want, and to try and back that the best that I can. You know, just like with the renovations, I was like, you got to be happy, and it's your life. You know, I'm part of it, but I'm not going to try to control your life, you know, to take away from who you are. And I like all of you.
But how do you think you got there? Because I know that a lot of the women in my world that I talk to, it is a long road to get, sometimes sadly, to get their husbands on board to see their dreams. And it even reminds me of, we go back to when I was trying to make this thing work, and I was buying all those lights, and they were in the garage.
I know. You had one project after
another, and I was these Amazon boxes, and you saw me spending this money.
I was like, what is going on?
Right. So how did you manage that as like the husband?
Well, you know, I didn't manage very well, because I got a phone call from the bank saying we overcharged the credit card, and I was like, oh.
When I lied to you about being $30,000 in debt?
I was about to walk in to audition for the 5th time with David Fincher, and I just couldn't believe my credit card was maxed out, and I knew there was something that I wasn't sure of. But you know, that was.
But it didn't kill us.
It didn't kill us. It basically, I got to the place of like, I just need to show her everything, like who I am, so that she knows what she's putting into, you know, like there's no mystery. Like she knows where financially we're at, and I gave everything to you.
Well, and I think that also gave me permission to not be afraid to show you everything.
Yeah.
Because if you were coming to me and showing me everything, then it's like, oh, this is a safe space where I don't have to hide or try to fix it myself, or, you know, create these moments of chaos to then jump in and enable, and, you know, all of my beautiful defects that I have. So I think that's a huge thing. And why do you think a lot of men can't do that or don't want to do that?
They try. They're fear and control. So they feel like they need to control it. And I've just learned that I'm not in control. And I shouldn't be in control of you. That's not fair.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Okay. Going to the next one.
And I'm not scared.
I am sometimes, but not scared of you. Not scared of us. I never worry about
There's
us.
always something greater than me that's taking care of the both of us.
Yes.
So I know that to be true.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that so much of our shit, we really got out of the way like the first 7 years of our marriage, to where now we get to be in this place where, and I was just telling you that, like, when I went to Onsite, I was like, I was saying it in gratitude to you because we've been through a lot, but
Yes, we have.
a lot. But we are now in this season where, when I get this gift to go to this beautiful place to work on myself, it's like, I'm not going in there talking about you.
That's true.
Right? I'm not going in there talking about
Right.
my husband this and my husband that, like, because we've already done so much of that work in our marriage. It's like, I get this space to actually work on myself. And I think that that's a huge thing, and that I'm grateful for in our marriage. It's not that it's rainbows and butterflies, but it's that we had to go through a lot of mess, and we went through a lot of that earlier on in our marriage. A lot of it when we were still getting to know who each other were.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, very much so.
and we came to the other side of it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's been a huge part of having that trust. Okay, next question. As two creative people, how have you learned to make room for both of your dreams without it becoming a competition or a hierarchy?
I just haven't been in charge of it. It's not up to me, and it's not up to you.
Right.
It's up to a much bigger equation. Some people call it fate, right? Like my TV series, I get to do my TV series because it's kind of priority. Sometimes if I went to go do a film, we would look at it and say, was it worth it? Me going away? That usually has financial, Yeah. Well, us making these decisions together has made my career much better.
And I think that's the thing. And even like if there was a role or something that you wanted to do that I didn't think maybe was worth it financially or worth it even of your time, I wasn't going to stop you from doing it. I wasn't going to try to control that.
And we set it up. You set this career for yourself to be able to be mobile.
Yes.
Yeah, because we knew it was very important to be together.
Yes.
Like, I wouldn't be away for too long of a time. That's why we love the TV series so much, is because I shoot in Charlotte and I can come back to Nashville on the weekends.
Right.
You don't miss me that much.
No, I'm like, please leave. Thank you. I need my space. But then come back. Don't be gone too long. But I think that's a big part of it. I knew early on that if my life was going to be at the mercy of a production schedule, and like how could I make my work as my schedule and my place that I worked as flexible as possible. I wanted to be able to work literally from anywhere.
Yeah.
And you and what you do for a living, and me wanting to be with you and be around you was a big driving force in that. I didn't want to be behind a desk or a cubicle, but it wasn't just because of my own dreams. It's like I want to be married to this guy and see him and be around him, and he's my favorite person to be around.
Best life.
So the freedom of that is huge.
And Tom Hanks always said you can't be more than 2 weeks away from your wife.
I feel you've always been really sovereign in your own abilities too. So I think this actually comes back to a confidence thing, that if there's a man or a woman in a relationship, if they're not truly confident in what they're doing and they're not truly secure in their purpose and their vision and what they're creatively putting out in the world and their creative expression, the desire to want to maybe push someone else's down, I think, would be a little bit more prevalent.
Yeah. Yep. I've always been secure. I'm grateful for what I do.
Mm-hmm. And you've always been very encouraging of my own evolution and expansion, and
very much so.
Whatever it is
everything
that I wanted to do.
I like that part.
Yeah.
You've grown so much. I know. Yeah.
And you've just played such a beautiful part in that, and just in our dynamic. We've kind of touched on this, but I'm gonna ask it anyways, because a lot of the questions did keep coming kind of back to this theme. A lot of women listening struggle because their partners don't fully understand or believe in their business. What would your advice be to those partners?
They don't believe in their business?
Yeah,
Like,
the woman's business.
I mean, it's their business. So,
But there was a time, did you believe in this business when I first was
No,
doing it and was $30,000 in debt? And
I watched there was some things that I could tell from my experience in life that wouldn't work. It's like when you wanted to be, like the one that would walk down the street and take photos, and then they would
Yeah.
repurpose the photos.
Yep.
I was like,
doesn't really work.
that doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to be a business.
Right.
But because you have all this skill, you're incredibly articulate. You're very organized. You just have this great abilities. Like, everyone knows that as soon as they meet you. Like, she's a force of nature. And I knew that I needed to encourage that part. So, but it has to do with with me. And so if I was another guy looking at your business, it's all about control. It's about controlling another person.
How do they, what would your advice be to sever that? They need to work on their control issues.
They need to work on their soul. Yeah, they got control issues. Controlling a woman is definitely control issues. Power, fear, but also, morals and values. Some men just don't see women as equal, so it's true.
Yeah. What do you think are the most important morals and values that uphold the ability for our working relationship as parents and as husband and wife to have that be thriving? 13 years in?
Well, I know that there's a greater power. There's God in our lives, and kind of the most important part of us as a couple. When we got married that day on the beach, I looked at that because it wasn't glamour. It was just real. And I tried to live up to those values with you and God and everything I've learned over the course of these years. Make that commitment to you, and you have been loving, caring, forgiving, and I couldn't imagine doing anything less. I couldn't imagine being less for you.
I love you, babe. I agree with that. I think that's the biggest key and drive. I mean, that kind of lends to this last question, but I'm gonna switch gears. They were talking about like what's a conversation or an instance that changed the way that we love or lead together.
It's been so many.
I know.
Yeah.
But I think it does go back to that moral and value place.
Yeah. So you played a huge part of my sobriety, me getting sober and clear. And once I got on the other side of that hurdle, life's been different.
Yeah.
Then our relationship's been different. So, and a lot of people were scared of that too. Like a significant other would be scared to death that someone is calling themselves an addict. And they would run, or they would make their life even more difficult.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
But, I came genuine to you and told you who I was and what I learned about myself, and you embraced it, you nurtured it. And I got on the other side of it, and I'm much stronger, and our relationship's much stronger. So I looked at myself first.
Yeah.
And that's what sobriety really does, makes you really look at you and stop blaming other people for your life.
How do you think that has also played a role in your, I don't know if the word is success, but just your ability to get what you want in life? Because I've actually, a couple of people have asked me this, and I've shared this with them when they talked about how, because you lived in LA for over 30 years. I only lived there for maybe 8 of those years with you. So, I mean, you had an entire life before I met you. I mean, married and career and everything. But I've said this more than once to people, that something that I realized happened in you that I've noticed since we've moved to Nashville, we've been here almost 6 years now, that I didn't even realize was something that you needed, was that moving here, and I think it was a mix of things, location, your sobriety, age, what have you, but it calmed your nervous system and like recalibrated this sense of peace in you that I don't even think we realized you needed. And how do you think that coming to the other side of what all of that was has helped in your own ability to get what you want, to get the roles that you want, to get the marriage that you want, to get, to be creatively expressed, and what that means for you?
Yeah, moving here, being away from all the constant, I don't even know, like pressure. And letting it all go. I literally let it all go when we came here. I let representation go. Anything that I had shame with all of it associated with my career. So I was able to look at those parts of myself, and I was able to release them, give them over to a higher power, over to God. And coming here to Nashville made it much easier. And then I was driving down streets and there's green everywhere and not concrete like Los Angeles is. Constant, like just pressure and even community, like talking to people here was freeing and not fearsome because everyone was so scared in Los Angeles. Yeah. I just let go. I literally surrendered that part over to God. And I fully was able to do it because we moved here. I mean, maybe I could have done it in Los Angeles. I don't know. But right. I think that I know this, and I knew this when we were leaving. I knew that me going into the unknown has always been the best thing for me. And I didn't do that ever before with a family to have to feed and take care of. I knew that I had you, and you would be successful no matter what you turned to do. And just letting go, watching the sun rise in our front yard and watching the sun set in our back. It was opposite. Yeah, it was the opposite.
I'm tracking you.
Sun sets in the front.
It's really good.
Sun rises I would wake up, watch the sun we didn't have the porch at the time.
Right.
And then our front, whatever that little thing is.
A front porch?
It's not really a porch.
It's a stoop. I think it's called a stoop.
We would watch as many sunsets as possible, and it freed me up for sure. Yeah. It was nothing but green, and I stopped causing myself chaos too. I was constantly in chaos.
Yeah.
Even like auditions, it was like I made myself a mess, and no wonder the way that I was brought into this world of acting. Yeah. And I'd let go of all the shame. And my first project that I went out not carrying any shame as an actor was Blue Ridge.
Right.
And I held that to be true, and it's grown to be something way bigger than anything we could have imagined. Yeah.
I know. Someone said the other day to me that anything that grinds eventually turns to dust, and that I thought that was really powerful, because I think that a lot of us are just kind of taught, or there's this culture and this idea that you need to grind your way, and hustle, and just the more that you grind, the more that you're going to get. Yeah,
there was nothing but wasted hustle.
Yeah.
Nothing but wasted space. Anytime you go out drinking and thinking you're doing a business deal, you're not.
You're just drinking.
You're just drinking. What Lord knows, those late nights didn't lead to anything positive or successful. And you may be thinking that's happening. So I could tell the viewer that's not going to benefit you in any way.
Yeah.
You're not part of anything. You think you're part of the Hollywood world because you're out there, at midnight? No. Yeah. It's not going to do you any good.
It's the clarity that you get when you move all that stuff out of the way.
And we moved stuff out of the way. Everything you wrote in your book was about us clearing out a lot of the stuff from our past, our youth. And we became adults. We became parents. Important to become an adult when you're a parent.
Yeah.
Yep.
And two, I think your perspective, and I would love to know what this is, for those that don't know, John's 15 years older than me, 14 years. So your lens, even though we're doing life together daily, and we get along very well, and you're my favorite person to be around, your lens and your perspective of how you see the same reality that I'm seeing is vastly different, just because you have 15 years on me. So how has that perspective been different as someone that's been an artist and a creative since you were 19 years old, and as a father, as a husband? Like, do you ever see that as a gift? I see that as a gift that you have. That's like a wisdom that you have that I don't have.
Yeah, as long as I'm in that part of me that can process it correctly.
What does that mean?
Where I don't force or have fear or project. I know that the wisdom comes from the stillness, and that's when I'm still with you. I try to stay as still as possible. I used to get in trouble for doing that, but not anymore. I'm just still. I don't react. And that's because I'm the work that I've done in my faith. And
yeah, you used to.
Oh, yeah.
You don't react as much anymore.
Yes.
Do you think the fear, is that your biggest Achilles heel, is fear?
I don't know if that's true.
What is?
What is my big Achilles heel? And I have one.
Is it shame?
Not anymore. I don't know what it is. You know, our little girl has been saying to me, "Are you thinking about movies?" She's like, "Are you thinking about a movie right now, Dad?"
I know. I told her it because you were being pensive, and she was like, "Mommy, what's pensive?"
Yeah, but she's been saying that for like a week now. And usually she catches me when I'm thinking about like
something
who's going to play that role, or in Blue Ridge, you know, who would be good for that part. You're like, I'm always talking, it's my job, so I'm thinking about it all the time, and she catches me every time. And I think my biggest Achilles heel was that it was never enough. And perfectionism was definitely a big part of that. And so the reason why I think I paused when you asked me that, and it took me such a long time to come around with the answers, because I've addressed a lot of those things. Perfectionism, like, you know, it makes me my role's really interesting, but too much of it just takes away from it. And I learned that in sobriety, you know, in the process of character defects, and that was a big one, perfectionism.
Yeah.
And so when my little girls ask me, "Are you thinking about movies?" and I'm trying to be present with her, and she's right, you know, but I'm not. I found myself saying, "Well, I'm not dreading it." I used to wake up like, "Oh my God, I was on the cover of Vanity Fair. I should be a bigger star. Like, why isn't this happening?" Yeah. So that was a big, but I don't do that anymore. So if she keeps asking me that question, I'm just going to keep dreaming, keep thinking about, you know, movies.
The worthiness piece, I think, is really interesting, because to hit any height or any level of success, especially what you've been able to accomplish, I mean, it's like the top 1%.
It's crazy.
Do what you've done, and especially being just a kid from Baltimore, Maryland, that didn't come from any of that, and you get in your broke down little truck and you drive across the country and you start doing this. I mean, it's incredibly rare. So when I think about the worthiness and perfection piece, because that's something that a lot of my listeners deal with, you know, not enough. Is this enough? When will it ever be enough?
Yeah. When
does that serve you, and when does that actually keep you from getting what you want?
Yeah. That's the equation, right? You got to know what that is. It's like that grind that you mentioned. You don't need to grind as much. Mostly find out where it's working and where it's not, and that takes time.
Yeah.
That's what 56 years has done, is give me that perspective.
It's also reminded me too of a lot that's been dropping in for me, and JD, who we met through you, who's our pastor, who I love, JD Ost at Zeal Church. Shout out to JD. Earlier this year, he was talking a lot about ownership versus stewardship. And it's made a really huge difference in my own business this year and how I perceive my business, and really me getting out of the ownership role and putting God in that seat. So, you know, God is the CEO of my business, the CEO of my life, the CEO of my marriage. I'm just the steward of it. You know, I'm the steward of my house. I'm not the owner of it. And I think that that's been a big thing, is that when I can get myself out of that, and I'm not going to say it as great as he does, but JD was mentioning, like, when you're the owner of something, when things go good, you get to pat yourself on the back because, yay, you know, you own this and it's going good. But when things go bad, when, the stocks go down that you've got your investments in, or this thing doesn't do well, or that thing doesn't do well, you take ownership of that loss or of that failure, and you make it mean something about you, versus when God's in the driver's seat and is the owner of all of that, and you're just meant to steward it. It's like when those things happen, essentially kind of what I took from that was like, you're not getting too high with the highs, but you're also not getting too low with the lows.
Yeah.
And what part of, does that ring any like true to you, and how you've been able to kind of navigate your own creative process?
Yeah, I've always felt that I was a vessel, and that the good Lord would work through me. And when I wasn't getting what I wanted, I'd be at odds with God, and I let all that go, because even those times He was still carrying me.
How did you let it go? I mean, I know sobriety was a big one for you. Was there anything else? Any other type of work, modalities, therapy, anything that you did that was supportive for you?
Well, I did do therapy. The brain spotting EDMR around my sexual assault had a great deal of freedom in it. Understanding my dyslexia and my inabilities, but my capabilities and my superior powers from it, that helped. Working around, stuff from my childhood with my father. Yeah, doing a lot of work on that. Really, it's brought me to be a lot more clear and understanding of all that. And you know what? Just life. Like, leaving Los Angeles, moving to Nashville with you and Camden, and just trusting in God to finding a way. And it was better than anything I could ever imagine, as long as I was true to me, which I was. True to Him, true to me.
Do you feel like that's where people can get lost sometimes? Is that lack of truth to themselves?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And how do we find our way back there as a creative too? Because that's a lot of the women that are listening to this. They may not be actors, but they're entrepreneurs. They're creative beings. They, how did you find your ability for what creative expression means to you, and how did you figure out what that was?
Well, I was trained by a great acting teacher for that very thing, Roy London. That was what he was all about. It was like I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was like, you got to know what vegetable you are, okay? Is this making sense? Is this connecting?
Okay.
The one thing about you is you always finish my sentence, because you actually know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I don't even know. And he would say, like, you have to figure out who you are as an actor, and that's the product you got to put out there, and you got to keep putting it out there, because that's how you're going to continually in business. In the acting part. And it's hard for you think you're an actor, you could play any part in the world, and I did think I could play anything, and I could actually play very wide range. But the thing that worked me over and over again, it took me a long time to figure out what that was, and trust in that to be the thing that would drive my career. You can see it. Successful people literally play the same role over and over and over again.
Right. They find that thing that they specialize in.
Yes. Really. Exactly.
And that problem that they can solve.
Because it's not that them just hiring themselves. It's not them just, it's a collaborative world. So you got to find that part that you're special in, that you really work, finding that who you really are. Like I would say to him, my acting teacher, I'd be like, I really want to be like Robin Williams, just make people laugh and have a really good time. I think I could do that. And he was like, no, you're not Robin Williams. You're not. You don't have that capability. That guy is like, he is built to make you laugh.
Right.
You're intense. You have like a Clint Eastwood vibe.
Right.
You're going to be better off with sitting with that world. That's where you're going to lie. That's where you're going to be successful.
So become the best at that.
Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting how long we will go trying to be something that we're not.
Right.
And how much effort we'll put into trying to be something that we're not. And then it's kind of like we get to this place in life where we kind of come back to right where we started, but it's the hero's journey, but in this very newfound way.
Yes.
And what you were describing reminds me of, in my industry, what we would call the multi-passionate entrepreneur. the one that's like, well, I serve everybody and I can help everybody. And my ideal client is anyone that breathes air and, you know, but those are the ones that kind of, they become a jack of all trades instead of like the one that people want to work with.
Yep. Yeah, I've always found like actors becoming successful just knew that one thing. Mm-hmm. And there's other actors who could play anything in the world. You know, like they're really, really talented, but they're too widespread, right?
They don't go narrow and deep enough.
Yes.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. So I've always felt that you nailed that with your clients, what Roy always wanted every actor to learn. Yeah.
And it plays a part.
You do that.
Thank you. I try.
Yeah.
You know, I believe in it very deeply. And so I try to model that and I teach that. I mean, that's what I want the women that are listening to me is like we all have, you know, Derek Warburton says it all the time. Don't be the best, be the only.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's like, how are you the only at this? And how do you take something that's a commonly, I call them like commonly taught topics, right? So like I teach messaging. It's very common. There's nothing special about messaging. What's special is that the way that I understand it, the way that I teach it, the way that I can effectively articulate it to someone. That's what makes it special.
And you're good at that.
You're an actor. I mean, there's a lot of actors out there, you know, but what makes you special is the way that you bring your own understanding and lived experience and your craft of acting that makes it special. And that's what I wish for everyone that's listening. And whether they're partnered or not, I mean, I think I have a lot of moms and a lot of married people that listen to this podcast episode. And no matter where they may be feeling in their relationship, if they feel like they do have support from their spouse or if they don't, it's really, like you were saying before, it's like this is your life. And this is really about you living out what is that thing that you are called here to do in this lifetime. And are you being true to that? And I think that's the path.
Yeah, that's the path. That's it.
Okay, tell us about Blue Ridge before we wrap this up.
Well, Blue Ridge season 2 is coming out in 2026.
When is it coming out?
We don't know yet. We're in talks with some.
Skinny?
We're in talks still to distribute it. It did incredibly well on Amazon Prime. It did very well everywhere it went. Peacock, but Amazon Prime it charted. It was there for a couple, like maybe month and a half
at least.
Yeah,
like 8 weeks.
Yeah, within the top 10, and so that means there's a great deal of viewers, tens of millions of viewers, and they know that, we know that, but there's a number that in the world of putting it back out there, how we're going to put it back out there, we don't quite know what that is. Mm-hmm. People love the show. We get great response and reviews, and so good things. And season 2 is only better than season 1, so we're excited about that. And then I just got off the phone with my showrunner Gary Wheeler, and looks good for season 3. So good things. But the one thing that your viewers probably don't realize is that more than ever, actors need support on socials. And I'm 56 years old. I have a wife who's a guru in this space, and I still it's not my space.
It's not your thing.
It's not my thing.
Yeah.
But I do need support on it. So the more people who follow me or believe in me, if you watch the show and love the show, make sure you follow me on socials.
Yeah.
Because if I had tens of millions of people on socials, it would be a different story when I talk to getting season 3 greenlit or 3, 4, and 5 greenlit.
Well, I've told you how you can get millions of followers.
I know. You want me to be on Dancing with the Stars.
I want you to go on Dancing with the Stars.
Well,
I'm saying it here for anyone listening, if you have any, because not only would you be great for that show because of the nostalgia that you bring, because of just your 30-plus year career as an actor and all of those movies that people know you for and love you for, that thing you do, the great work that you're doing on Blue Ridge now on Amazon Prime. But what people don't know, some people might, but you are an incredible dancer. You are an amazing dancer.
Well, there's a lot of great.
Yeah, but you've got the swagger. You've got that Swayze thing about you that like you could go on and they would teach you just a thing or two and you would kill it. So it would be a gift to everyone that loves Dancing with the Stars to see you on there. You have fabulous abs. Take your shirt off. Like I'm getting my publicist hat back on there. Know how to sell it. But that's how you could get 1 million followers if you want to do that.
It's interesting, right?
It is interesting.
I wish I could do it without getting on Dance with the Stars.
Oh, but you would be so good at it. Just stay open.
Well, I would be open to it. It's a different world. In the old world, it's like you can't do that.
Right.
But nowadays...
It's different.
And I'm independent TV show, so...
Yeah, and it would open you up to an entirely new audience.
Well, I just want my audience. I love my audience, Blue Ridge.
They're great.
It's family.
Yep. So people can watch Blue Ridge on Amazon Prime. Season 1 is now out.
Season 2 is coming.
Dive into that now on Prime if you haven't watched it. My last question for you before we wrap this up. Thank you for coming on first. I love you. Thank you for your time and your gift and your quiet confidence, like our sweet little boy.
I know.
Your industry has gone through a lot in the last the last 10 years, but especially in the last 5 or 6 years. From strikes to COVID to just changes in how people are consuming film and TV. What is your hope for Hollywood?
My hope is that I can work from my home. And I don't mean to be selfish, but that my experience in Hollywood, there was good and there was bad. And I just want to stay in the good. And I think the good works better than the bad. So I don't want to have anything to do with the bad. So my home doesn't mean my place that we live, but the home that I know inside my heart.
Yes.
And that's where I want Hollywood to go.
And you know what I thought you were saying? You wanted Tennessee to get film incentives.
That definitely. And I'll work on that.
So when you were like, my hope for Hollywood is that it comes to Tennessee.
But we don't want Hollywood. We want to start a whole new industry.
Yeah.
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 The new wave of industry.
Yeah. Well, hopefully
we're doing it right now.
We are, and hopefully, if it does get back to the home, it will get back to the root of what artistic and creative expression really is.
Yes, it's gotten Hollywood. Some of the rules that they've created are not for me. I don't think they're for anybody.
Yeah, they're not creative.
Yeah, they're not creative.
Very stifling.
They're not collaborative.
Yeah.
Making movies and television a collaborative art form. Best there is.
Well, thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for sharing your perspective of our dynamic, a little glimpse. I mean, people know I don't share a ton about our personal life on social. If you want to actually see more of our personal life, follow my husband, Jonathan, because he'll show our kids and kind of fun things we do more than I do. But I think it's always fun to bring the people that really matter and make the impact into these platforms. I mean, you're such a integral, massive part of what I do, and most importantly, why I do it. And I want people to know more about you and to hear it from that perspective. And I think it's also really important to remember that it does take two to tango. And if you're blessed enough to be in a relationship or in a partnership with someone that wants to lift you up and allows you to truly be yourself and wants to see you be creatively expressed, it's, having those moments to really root in, especially when you have kids and life and it can get so busy. But just to have these moments, like this is like a date as we get to just be with each other. And Chris.
I'm not Chris. I'm not the one who's talkative. Yeah. I've actually found myself going, in a world of talkies, I don't want to talk.
You're a great listener.
I want to listen. I just want to be. And you're my articulate arm, really. So you're out there in the world and you're making a huge difference, and you continually do that. That's where your growth will lie. Impact one person, which you impact more than just one, but the next one.
Yeah. But I hope those, if they don't feel that their partner, I don't want to say whether it's they don't feel that their partner supports them to the level that they wish they would, or they just wish that the dynamic would be different. It's just kind of, I hope this episode gave them just a little bit of hope.
I hope so too.
Some nuggets, and just a reminder that they're not alone. It takes a lot to navigate life and relationship and marriage and parenting.
And let go and trust.
Yes. So thank you, baby. I love you.
I love you too.
If today's episode served you, don't forget to hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a woman you know is ready for more. You can now watch every episode every week on Spotify and YouTube, and continue to listen on the platform of your choice. And if you want behind-the-scenes updates on business, messaging, leadership, special promos, the first access to what's happening in my business and my world, I would encourage you to join my weekly email circle at juliesolomon.net/newsletter. That is where all of this goes down that is not normally shared publicly. This is where your next era begins, and I'm so glad that you're here.